As you guys can see, I just booked in 4 discovery calls for myself this week. In this video, I'm gonna show you guys how to scale your agency by signing clients, your SMMA, social media marketing agency, whatever you wanna call it. I'm saying words for the YouTube algorithm. The idea is to help you scale to that elusive yet arbitrary 6-figure run rate. So the name of the game when it comes to signing clients is just booking and discovery calls, right? Like a beginner mistake that I see people making is just they're so focused on signing clients that they forget the process to signing clients requires them to book calls. In the beginning, your sole focus should be setting appointments for yourself to potentially close and building a team on the fulfillment side of things so that when you actually do sign a client, you can actually fulfill the service to an excellent standard. Now, when it comes to appointment setting, there are many methods, including cold email, cold calling, LinkedIn DM, Instagram DM, Facebook groups. The list goes on, to be honest. But in this video, I'm going to be focusing on cold email, which is my vessel of appointment setting, and I'm gonna show you how to do it like an absolute 6-figure agency owner. So what I'm gonna cover is the things that people literally paid me last year to learn, but this year, because I have new methods and new systems, I'll just give it away for free. In terms of the structure of this video, how it's gonna go is, first of all, I'm gonna talk about the structure of your cold emails. So that would be a Lemlist screen share. Next, I'm gonna go over sending volumes, and then also how to not get in spam. How to not get into spam is slightly longer of a video, so I'm gonna just give you the skeleton structure for that, and if you want a video going into depth on that, drop it in the comment section down below. Also, I'll be going over some target metrics that you need to be aiming for, the softwares you need, and just a few ninja hacks that not many people know about. So let's just jump right into it, but before we do, I just want to give you a bit of context as to what my results are, just to prove to you guys that I'm not capped with what I'm saying. Last year, between 1st of August and this year of January 31st, I sent 592 cold emails with 84% open, 5% click, and 13% replied on average. With regards to the people interested, I didn't actually bother marking the amount of meetings I got, so just ignore the amount of interests I got right here. This year I'm going to be more meticulous with tracking in that regards. So you can see my sending volume was much higher during this period, and then I kind of just stopped doing cold emails because I was at a pretty happy point with my agency revenue wise, and we were able to keep our clients for a very long time. So to give you an idea of how many clients I signed off the back of 592 emails, I actually signed 3 of my clients during this period. So that's an average conversion rate of roughly 1 client for every 200 contacts that I was outreaching to, which is actually really good, all things considered. So let's jump into how I actually structure the emails. For the email structure, I'm just going to teach you a very generic structure of emails, and then hopefully the idea is for you to iterate on this yourself. Because to be honest, if I just gave away the exact structure I taught my students, it would be kind of unfair to them because they paid for it. But anyways, this will get you 80% of the way there, and if you follow the structure that I'm about to give you, it's going to put you ahead of, let's say, 80-90% of agency owners out there. So how you want to structure it is, first of all, you want to first pay attention to the subject line, as that's the thing that's going to affect open rates the most. The first email, again, is going to be the most important because that's going to convey all of the messaging, and subsequent emails are simply just follow-ups. Normally I do it 2 days apart. However, I tried experimenting with slightly longer time spans, but to be honest, when I did, I wasn't tracking data and I can't really tell you guys what works best. But let's just get right into the first email. So how do you actually write a highly converting subject line? Well, for subject lines, you want to have their first name and company name in it. If you could have just one or the other, choose their first name over their company name. Next is, how do you actually introduce it? Well, obviously you would just start off with hello, first name. And then what I like to do is have a compliment. So this is actually going to take you much longer in the lead sourcing stage. However, with a custom first line, your conversion rates are just going to go through the roof, I promise you, because people don't respond to template emails anymore, at least. Next is your offer. So this is the bit you need to kind of split test the most and see what resonates with your target market. So for me, when I was offering Facebook ads, it was something along the lines of, hey, you know, we managed to scale this brand from X to Y, and we focus on using, I don't know, like creative direction as well as data-driven optimization. Just basically, you want to throw in adjectives that make you sound like you have an edge if you actually don't have an edge and are just starting out. So next is you want to cover a problem and a solution. So this is where it kind of gets a bit guessy and it's a bit hit or miss. So the problem and solution part, you really want to be like playing around with a lot, because the problem you're highlighting needs to be a pain point in the business owner's eyes. So for example, with Facebook ads, a pain could be, you know, you've tried increasing your spend, however, it's just not scaling past a specific ceiling. And the solution we have for that is to insert data-driven creatives to help you break past this barrier. Something along those lines where you're highlighting a pain point or a problem that the business is experiencing, and then you're providing a solution which they've kind of never heard of, kind of thing. Call to action, again, this is where people kind of mess up a little bit as well. So there's two types of call to actions where, and I learned this from a book called Spin Selling, by the way. There's one type where it's like continuations, and then the other is like advances, right? Continuations would just be like, hey, let me know if you're interested. Whereas an advance would be taking them to the next stage of the sale, which would be to book them in for a discovery call with you. So the typical call to action would just be like, hey, do you have some time over the next week or so to have a chat? If you do, pencil yourself in with my scheduler, something along those lines. And then lastly, you want to have a signature. So where people kind of go wrong, and this will actually lead you to end it up in spam, sorry about this, it's that you need to make sure in your signature you have your business name, address, and your email plus phone number. With the phone number, you can even give a fake one. No one's gonna call you on the number, I promise you. The reason why you wanna have these three things is because Gmail actually has a filter that goes through, and if an email doesn't have this, it gets flagged as kind of suspicious. So this is what you need for your signature. In terms of back to the offer, this is what's gonna be the most important. Most people's offering is generic and it just sounds the damn same. Like, how many times have you seen people say in templates like, oh, we help e-commerce brands scale to 6, 7, and 8 figures through paid traffic, paid advertising, Facebook, whatever they want to call the service. Business owners are so insensitized to that. You can't use that as an offering anymore. It just simply doesn't work. I used it to get my first client, but after that, man, like my conversion rate with that was probably 1 in every 400-500. And you know, with a good offer, you can convert anywhere from 1 to kind of like 1 in 200-ish, which is the thing that you guys should be aiming for. Anyways, second email is just simply a bump, just something along the lines of like, hey, first name, I saw you haven't replied to my previous email, just wanted to make sure this didn't get buried in your inbox, something along those lines. And then next, this third email is gonna be kind of important. I like to share a recent client win that we've had. So what this entails is essentially it's an email saying, hey, you know, I just wanted to report a recent client win we've had for X company. Over the last week, we managed to generate them $128,000 at a 5x return on ad spend. The reason why we've been able to do this is because we've isolated 3 winning audiences along with using DCT to find X creative combinations and da-da-da-da-da. Like, make it kind of like case study, but not a case study, you know? A lot of people go wrong with case studies is because they go, hey, this is what we managed to achieve for clients, we can do the same for you. Rather, you should just be like, hey, look at what we did, but not in a like a braggy way, if that makes sense. If you don't have any clients, you could either leverage a case study from your contractor, or you could just give, hey, I noticed this on your store, here's a few recommendations. Generally speaking, you can give pretty generic recommendations and it would still work, but just nowhere near as well as the recent client win. Lastly, this is what I call the sunset disengaged email. So basically this is saying, hey, you know, I've tried reaching out to you, goodbye, this is my last email. An important thing that I actually learned from Justin Lan is to leave this email open-ended, which allows you to do quarterly or bi-yearly follow-ups. One thing that some people teach is, hey, this is my last attempt to reaching out to you. This is actually not what I do, right? Instead, I go something like, hey, I know you probably have just got too much on your plate right now. Maybe this isn't the right time. Let me circle back with you next quarter or something along those lines where you're saying, hey, I'm not going to email you anymore, but feel free to book in that call in case you just forgot. However, it's not like I'm never going to contact you again because I know I can help you. So that's what I mean by leaving it open-ended. So to just summarize that, this is like the best bare bones structure I can give you. You can even play around with making this 5, 6 emails, 7 emails long if you want to. Play around with the sending days, play around with the subject lines. But the main things you want to be testing in terms of running split tests is your offer. You want to test your problem solution, and also you want to test the timing at which you send the email. So whether it be Monday to Friday or you want to send it on weekends as well, and the timing of the day at which you send the emails. And lastly, if you want, you can extend the flow as long as these 4 emails right here are spot on. Let's talk about sending volume. One of the most common questions I get asked is, oh, how many outreaches should I do a day, a week, a month, things like that. And I always say, however much you have time for, because in the beginning, your sending volume should really just be as much as you possibly can fit into your day and your schedule, given that, you probably have other commitments as like school or maybe a full-time job and things like that. But outreach is the number 1 priority when you first start an agency. However, the volume at which you outreach, for example, with cold email, shouldn't be so high as to trigger the spam filters and things of that nature. But to give you an idea of how much I did to scale my agency to where it is today, I did between 10 to 20 a day, Monday to Friday, and that was about all I could fit into my schedule, simply because, when I started having clients, I was actually helping with the fulfillment side of things, consulting on strategy and things like that. So my time was kind of split between sales and fulfillment as well. But when you first start, make sure to be at least hitting 20 a day, as that's the number I did in order to sign my first few clients. With 20 a day, that means you're sending 100 a week, and with the average conversion rate of between 2 to 5%, you should be getting anywhere from 2 to 5 meetings a week. In terms of the target metrics that I spoke about early on in this video, the target metrics you should be aiming for is a 70% or above open rate. However, if your deliverability is good, you should actually be aiming for 80% or more. So this is a target metric that I give now to my appointment setters that book in appointments for me. If open rates are below 80%, then there's something needs to change. It's going wrong somewhere in the line. Next is you want to be looking at reply rates. So reply rates generally for me are between 15 to 20%, and I expect anywhere from 5 to 10% of that to be positive. In terms of meeting rate, it really depends, number 1, on the service offering you have. So for example, last year when I was offering Facebook ads, my conversion rate was anywhere from 2 to 5%. Now let's talk about the softwares that you actually need to perform cold email. First of all, you want some sort of lead sourcing software, so whether that be Snov, Sales QL, anything along those lines to actually help you find the business owner's email. This is where it kind of gets complicated and there's many more options. So find a method of lead sourcing that works for you. But when it comes to the actual sending side of things, there's 2 pieces of software that I've really enjoyed using, and that's Mailshake and Lemlist. In my opinion, Lemlist has more and better features. However, Mailshake has the better interface. Like Lemlist's interface, oh my god, it's awful. But that's the one that I use to this day to get things done. However, last year when I first got started, I used something called HubSpot. You'll probably have heard of that. They're a really big SaaS company that have various kind of packages. They offer like voice calls, and they also offer CRMs and things like that. So that was actually something that I used when I first began. However, now I'm switched over to using a combination of Google Sheets and Lemlist. Another piece of software that you'll need are things like Calendly to schedule in your appointments. A piece of software that I really like to use is actually MailTrack. So MailTrack Pro allows you to track open rates and click-through rates on the emails that you've sent out. And I find this really helpful when it comes to manually emailing people that have expressed interest in the service, so I can manage all of that through my Gmail dashboard. Lastly, let's talk about a few kind of ninja hacks that I don't really see many people talking about. Number 1, that's to have a custom tracking domain set up. So how a custom tracking domain works is when you send emails from any server, essentially, you're sending it from an IP, right? That's Internet Protocol for those of you that don't know. This IP address is used for literally tens of thousands of other people sending emails from the same IP address. And out of these 10,000 people, there's gonna be people that are spamming. So most likely the IP is already blacklisted, which is a red flag to ISP providers, and they may flag your email automatically as spam. So to avoid this, you wanna set up a custom tracking server. There's various solutions. I know Lemlist has a native version that is available to all users, which is why I actually like the platform as well, despite its interface. Next this is something that I actually had no idea about, and it's just kind of by dumb luck that I was able to maintain the health of my main domain, that I didn't need this. That's getting a burner domain. So what a burner domain is, let's say your agency website is, I don't know, for mine it could be boyandigital.com. My burner domain would be something like boyanfacebookads.com, something along those lines where it still adheres to your branding, but just another domain that's not your main one. The reason why you want to use this is if your main domain gets flagged as spam, it's going to be very difficult for you to communicate with clients and things like that. Whereas if a burner domain gets flagged as spam, you can just literally just burn off the domain, shut it down, and then just buy a new one. So use a burner domain to start with. Make sure you warm it up in the correct manner. Another ninja hack that will actually improve your conversion rate is to DM the founder or whoever you're outreaching to, both on Instagram and LinkedIn, to have a really omni-channel approach with the outreach. Personally, I found this to work wonders for myself in the past. However, the downside to this is it's extremely time consuming. So the people that I do this with, I actually make sure they're highly qualified for my services before I even put them on that funnel for my outreach. And my last tip to you would be to slightly alter your offering. What I mean by that is when it comes to cold emails, you want to really communicate the edge of your agency and set yourself apart from other agencies. For example, last year we had an in-house graphic designer that was able to edit ad creatives. One of the biggest things that set us apart when it came to Facebook ads was the fact that many other agencies out there are just media buying agencies. Whereas we had creative capacity in the sense that we were able to dictate to our clients, okay, this is the asset we need from you, and we're going to be able to manipulate it in these 10 different ways, and thus it's going to make it much more high converting. In your emails, make sure to communicate your edge and craft an offer that is actually appealing to the prospect rather than just what's trendy at the moment. And that's it. That's how I kind of got clients last year, and that's how I was able to scale my agency to the point where it's at right now. And if you want a video explaining my journey, I'll link it either in the top right hand side and as the end screen of this video. Thank you so much for watching.